Capcom will always go down as one of the best companies on the NES. Games like Mega Man 2, DuckTales, Sonson, Bionic Commando. Oh, hold on. Sonson? Well, Capcom made so many games on the NES as well as the Famicom in Japan, and we didn't get all of the Capcom games. And many of them for good reason. So if you're a big fan of Capcom for the NES, here's a bunch of Capcom games that we never got in the United States. How are you feeling? You got John Riggs here. If you're an old school fan, make sure you're subscribed. There's always new videos coming up. Kind of going chronologically, we have Higemaru. Higemaru is a pirate ship type game. Kind of a fun, interesting take on the arcade version of this game, and I'll explain that in a moment. So you sail around in your pirate ship, you got this world to explore. You might find, like, you know, other pirate ships and they'll tell you something. But then some of these enemy pirate ships, you can hop on board, and that's when it turns into the action part of this game. Kind of a puzzle action game. You can grab these barrels and chuck them at the enemies. Sometimes the enemies go inside the barrels. That's kind of funny. Yeah, sometimes you'll find treasure chests that might unlock, you know, upgrades or health or something like that as well. A few different parts of the pirate ship, more enemies to defeat as you carry her on. And eventually you might even find a boss that you have to defeat using these same barrels. And if you happen to run out of barrels like I did in this gameplay, no worries at all. Just leave the screen. This is one of those games you can actually leave the screen during a boss fight and just kind of replenish the barrels. You know, you might have to, you know, defeat the enemy all over again, but still. What was interesting about this is just this barrel pushing into the enemies part. That was the entire arcade game. But as you remember, with so many NES games, they tried to make them a little bit more of an adventure and less arcadey sometimes. That's why we have games like the arcade version of Bionic Commando is different from the NES version of Bionic Commando. The arcade version of Rygar, the arcade version of Strider, different from the NES versions. You know, so consider that when you're looking at Higemaru. I apologize if I butcher the pronunciation, but Ide Yosuke Meijin no Jisen Mahjong? Is that how you say that? Well, roughly translated, it's, you know, Mahjong Master Yosuke Ide. They made one, and they also made part two. There are two of these Mahjong games based on Yosuke Ide, who I'm sure was like the top Mahjong player for the time. I can't show you gameplay footage of this. I can't capture my own footage, I should say, because this game used a specific Mahjong controller. And maybe there's some kind of through emulation, maybe there's a way to play this game still. Not that you need to. At the end of the day, it's another Mahjong game. But came out from Capcom in Japan. We never got it here in the United States. Marusa no Onna, which is like a taxing woman. From what I understand, this game was based on a movie that came out for its time, and it was kind of popular for its time in Japan as well. This game hasn't been translated as far as I know. I wouldn't mind playing it. I like these kind of text adventure games. Now, whenever I see the vertical text, I'm like, oh, what are we getting ourselves into here? Well, this looks cool. This looks pretty cool. This is Daikoshin, or as it says here, Mizushima Shinji no Daisukoshin. It's based on a manga. The Daikoshin, the author, whatever, however you present that with manga, is Shinji Mizushima. It looks like a baseball game because it is. It does not play like a baseball game you would be used to. This is it's a baseball manga. Even if you're not into sports, the manga, the anime based on sports are usually some of the best ones, in my opinion. And in this one, it's more of like a simulator. Like you say, I'm going to do this, and the enemy's going to do this, or the opposition is going to do this. And then you just watch it play out. Hopefully based on, you know, what things you chose or how you picked things. Interesting to see that they had a baseball game where you're not actually literally playing baseball. You don't actually hit the button to swing your bat. You just tell the, you tell the system what you're planning on doing, like what kind of pitch, or where you're going to pitch, or things like that. And then it just kind of plays out, which I think is kind of a fun idea. Pretty cool idea. Especially if you're not super sports prone, but you're okay with like strategy and stuff like that. That's all it is. That's all baseball is strategy. It's a martial art. I said it. It may not be true, but I said it. We have yet another baseball game that's not really a baseball game. Pro Yakyu Satsujin Jiken, which roughly translates to professional baseball murder case. Well, with the exclamation mark anyway. I love the graphics in this game. Oh my god, I love how the people look. I love how the characters look. I don't know if this is based on a manga or something like that. I almost have to assume it's something like that. I don't know, but I can't get over how this looks and everything. This would have been a fun game. I wish this game was translated as well. Apparently, I mean, yes, baseball is the overlying theme to this. However, it's more of a kind of whodunit case, is what it seems to be. going on with this game. What a fun idea. I would love to see this game. I mean, maybe there is a translation. If there is, please let me know. I'd love to check this game out. And, you know, we saw this game earlier, Sonson. This is an arcade game now available on your Famicom, and it plays like an earlier arcade game. Auto-scrolling, but you can choose, you know, any of the levels, any of the platforms. You can go up and down, and of course they're going to kind of chase you in a certain way. What's interesting about this game is that the levels will keep looping until you complete the task, whether it's picking up all the things or whatever it happens to be. I think it's just when you pick up, you know, enough things or pick up the things that you need to pick up. And then it'll move on to the next part of the stage. And there's always enemies coming at you, and you can shoot your little things at the enemies while picking up these items as needed. It's a quarter muncher. I could have seen this game in the US arcades back in the day, and this 100% would have been a quarter muncher. And I would have loved it. I would have absolutely have loved this game. I had played this. What did I play this on? Was this a game available on one of those Capcom arcade classic collections on the PSP or the PS2 or something like that? I swear, I know I've played like an arcade version of this game, not just through emulation. But Sonson, Famicom, very cool. And you do not need to know Japanese to play this game. You can pick it up and grab it. So if you're collecting Famicom, might be worth looking out for. Sweet Home is a game that many people are familiar with. It's an RPG that a lot of people say is the precursor to what became Resident Evil. That kind of scary horror thriller style game where you don't really know what's around the corner, you don't know what's going to come up, or you know, you got to use more of your brain and less, you know, attack all the enemies and stuff like that too. Now, unfortunately, this game is in Japanese if you find the Famicom version or something like that. But if you're playing it through other means, this game is available, translated, thank you for that translation, and completely beatable and 100% in English. So, as far as I know, anyway, I haven't actually played all the way through this game, but I played a lot of this game, and I really, really enjoy it. The different characters have their own item. So one has a camera, one has a vacuum, one can heal. You know, there's other things that other people can do, but you have to group up into parties and then, you know, carry your way through the game. You know, when you find these things, like, oh, you have to do this on this. Okay, well, you have to, you know, bring the certain character who can do certain things to complete a certain part. You know, maybe somebody has the key to open the door. Maybe someone, you know, whatever the case may be. For this game, super, super amazing. A lot of people love this game. A lot of people clamor for this game. This game, I think 100% deserves a US remake. I would love to see that. Tenchi wo Karu 2 is the name of this game. The Devouring of Heaven, as it loosely translates. Well, this is the second one that came out in Japan. There was a first one as well. Kind of sounds familiar. It should, because here in the United States, we called the first one Destiny of an Emperor. And if you were a huge fan of Destiny of an Emperor, I was a pretty big fan. Liked the idea behind this game. Well, if you're like, man, you know, I love Destiny of an Emperor, I wish we would have had a sequel. Well, there is a sequel in Japan, and fortunately, it is translated. So if you want to play Destiny of an Emperor 2, basically, that is a possibility. And so I'm going to show you a little bit of gameplay anyway. If you're a big fan of Destiny of an Emperor, or maybe you're not familiar, it takes place, you know, it's like Dynasty Warrior era, Liu Bei, Han Dynasty, something or other. I may be mixing up my dynasties here. You know, it plays like an RPG, so it's you know, consider it an RPG, but I loved the battle style where instead of having hit points, you have troops. And then when you attack basically their troops, their parties, you know. I liked the idea of, never mind attack this guy, attack that guy. There was an all-out where you just hit the button and it just kind of auto goes for you, and you just take turns beating each other, and that's mostly how I played this game. In Japan, Tenchi wo Kurao 2, Tenchi wo Kurao 2, you know, but you know, Destiny of an Emperor 2, well, whatever you want to call it. Wish we would have had this in the United States. Hey, did you know that Japan got a Mega Man game that we didn't get? Well, Wily and Light no Rockboard, That's Paradise. What? It's kind of a crazy name. Again, there is a translated version of this as well. Wily and Light's Rockboard, That's Paradise. Although, I mean, if it was Rockboard in Japan, maybe it should be Mega Board in the United States. I'm not sure. Up to 4 players, or choose the computer players as well. I'll play as Jesse Cox here, and it's a board game. It's a board game on the NES, or the Famicom, rather, in this case. But that's what you're looking at. You're looking at it's a board game style game on your NES. I think this could have done really well. I think this could have been great on the NES. I don't know why it didn't come out in the United States, And you can unlock things and you use that to help you out in winning the game and stuff like that too. Pretty fun to see that they had a Mega Man game like this. Really quickly, I wanted to show you Titan Warriors. Here's Titan Warriors from Capcom. It is a space shooter. No, it's not a space shooter, just an overhead shooter. I don't need to talk a whole lot about this. It's your basic vertical shooter on this game. This game never came out officially, so this is considered a prototype. It's considered a unreleased game that never came out in the United States. And I don't know why not. It didn't even come out in Japan. It's just an unreleased game completely. But it's one of those, they found the prototype, dumped the ROM. It seems it's like it's done. I don't know why they wouldn't have released it, but it's actually a pretty decent shooter. So kind of a bonus on this list here is Titan Warriors, just for fun. I hope you're subscribed because I plan on doing more of these videos in the future. Some games that Nintendo made, some games that Konami made that we never got here in the States. But we got a bunch of great Capcom games here in the United States. This video is a few years old now by today's standards, but check out the Capcom games as I rank them in my opinion along the way on where I would rank each Capcom game that was published by Capcom here in the US of A. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.